Paul, thank you for having me on. It's kind of cool. We get to go back-to-back special teams here. So, what I'm doing, what I'm going to talk about is kind of what we do in spring practice, and we'll do it again in fall camp. And it's kind of what it is. It's a drill circuit. It's a kind of a drill progression to kind of get you ready, and then, also a competition aspect to it too, which is a lot of fun for the guys. So, all right. So I'll get back to this at the end. Just so you guys are aware what I'm talking about. Here's our kind of spring practice face. And I'm blessed, man. We have a head coach that is, puts a big emphasis on special teams. And so it's hard to see, but I'll point out what this stuff is. Up in the top here, we have a special teams walkthrough. That's either 4 or 5 minutes before practice. Then we stretch and go right to field goal. So we get that worked in right at the beginning. Then we have 2 special teams periods in the middle of practice. And really what I'm focusing on in this is this middle one here. Okay, this skill development phase that's in the middle of practice here. And then we also finish each practice with a pressure situation, which can be anything from a game-winning field goal situation, or it could be, hey, we got to have a 40-yard punt with correct coverage lanes, and it's got to be over a 4-second hang, right? Could be any different thing, but it's just another chance for us to put guys, in some pressure to make sure they're used to that situation when it arises in a game. Okay, so again, why is competition important? Okay, and these are some of the axioms that we'll talk about, some of the quotes that we'll talk about, but basically what we're talking about is it's important to give yourself competition because, that's what you're going to have in a game. You got to win your one-on-one battle. That's what it's going to come down to a lot of times. So we want to get guys reps doing that, right, in the most controlled setting possible, to prevent injuries and to get good teaching out of it. Okay. And so here's kind of the setup throughout a normal spring practice. We get 15 practices in spring, the last one being a spring game. We have 2 scrimmages built in throughout spring. So what we're trying to do is basically put together a teaching day or 2 teaching days backed up by 3 competition days. So we'll teach drills for 2 different units, and then we'll go compete with those drills, right? And then we'll have a scrimmage. Then we'll come back and we'll do the same thing. And, guys, this is all in that second part of special teams practice where we have that skill development part, okay? And then I just use this drill matrix down here just to make sure I have all these things kind of organized. We have several technique drills that will work, and that's the teaching aspect of it. And the competitive drills on the right side it is what it is, the competitive drills. What I'm going to focus on today is the punt and punt return aspect of it because that's what we got film of from the first 5 practices of spring ball that we got through at Elon. And so I'll kind of talk about how we organized it. And, guys, the first thing we do is we get 4 special teams captains for this thing, and we're going to have 4 teams. And they're going to draft. They're going to draft their peers, which is a big deal because then we get to see, who they pick, which is kind of cool. But the first thing that we do is we draft coaches. Okay, and we do that because now all of a sudden the coaches are more invested in what happens. You know what I mean? Like, I see Mallard's entered the room again. But if you're the coach that gets drafted last, you're going to have something to prove. You should take that as kind of a slight. And so for us, our head coach is involved in this too. You know what I mean? He takes one of the teams as his team, and so that just kind of further emphasizes the importance of special teams. But, guys, what this does in drafting is it lets you see what your players think of each other. And it's important before you get into this draft phase of it to teach them being the captains, what the teams are going to be made up of, what the competition is going to be made up of. And then if you have the ability to, have a prize at the end, a sweatshirt or a hat or something, that helps too. I mean, it's pretty crazy how much harder guys will go when they can get a white sweatshirt or something. Okay, so here's what we're going to talk about. We got punt and punt return, and we'll talk in terms of top of the hill and bottom of the hill, okay? Top of the hill is that interaction that happens right on the line of scrimmage. So for punt, that's your releases, right? And then on punt return, it's your hold up, okay? And then we'll talk about bottom of the hill, which is on punt, right? That's going to be how you block destruction basically. And then on punt return is how you finish, okay? And we'll use a lot of the same terms that Milo just talked about. Okay, and then we'll talk about 2 of the competitive drills that we'll do good on good, and that's going to be our top of the hill and bottom of the hill drill. Okay, again, here's just the definition of what top of the hill and bottom of the hill is. So you can see, again, top of the hill is work at the line of scrimmage, and bottom of the hill is work being done downfield. Okay. So the first thing we'll teach the guys, and again, this is not part of the punt protection and the punt scheme and all that kind of stuff. We do that at a different part of practice. This is now, how do I get off a hold up and get downfield? And so the first thing we'll do is a hoop release drill. Okay. And is good because, again, your receivers, your tight ends, they're going to do this pretty naturally because they're doing it, every day or every other day in practice. But for your defensive guys, which, a lot of times makes up the majority of your punt unit or a lot of your special teams in general, they haven't done this, right? They don't understand the idea necessarily of a chop rip or reducing your surface area. They do all that in pass rush, right? So some guys will have it, but not everybody has practiced this. And so we'll work two releases. We'll work a speed release where we're trying to step for width, reduce our surface area, rip through, stack, and get back on top. And then we'll do a jab release where it's the same thing, except we're going to jab opposite our release and then work the same footwork. And on the jab, the biggest coaching point, guys, is not to overstep on that first jab step. Because if I'm jabbing right to go left and I take a huge step with my right foot, right, then all of a sudden I can't press off my right foot to go left. I'm kind of stuck in the ground and I'll end up just pivoting, or I'm not gaining any width. Okay, so we'll do these things. Now, I have it drawn here two ways. It's great if you have a hoop that you can do it around, a smaller hoop, but if you don't, you can do it on the numbers and then, have a line, on a line on the field. So just to show you, we did it on the numbers in the spring, and this is kind of hard to see, so I have some better film in a minute. But this is how the drill was set up. We have two coaches right here, one in this group and one in this group. And since we have 4 teams in spring, every drill setup has 4 spots. Okay, so we have 2 drills going on at the same time, with 2 spots at each of those drills, so 4 lines total. So as you look at this is one team, okay, that was just drafted together. This is one team over here, okay, and then over on the left side of the screen is the finish drill, the bottom of the hill drill for punt, but it's got the 2 other teams, okay. Just from a organization standpoint, that makes it easy to tell them, hey, Team Hillman's over here, Team Cross is over there, and that way it's easy to get set up. And what we do, guys, is we start them at the same spot each day during this drill period so they know exactly where to go, which saves some time. Okay, but it's tough to see, but all we're working here is again, that speed release, or we're trying to reduce surface area, club and rip, or club and arm over. And the common coaching points, you see number 20 going right here. He's not getting his hips flipped at all. He's not getting his left foot, even with the hip of the hold-up man. But trying to practice these things just to get him some reps at it. And you can see there's the DB not falling over. Okay, but again, right here, we got our arm over is way too high, exposing our chest. I want to keep guys off of our chest, off of our shoulders, off the back of our neck. Those are the spots they can grab us and use that crab technique that Milo was just talking about. Okay, so here's a couple more clips from where I was last year, and you can just look at the guy on the right hoop here. This is a really good job. It's much better trying to reduce the surface area right here and then working hard to get back on top as he finishes through. So this is now the drill setup that you have with a hula hoop, okay, with a hoop. It's a little bit better. 24 does a great job. He's playing for the Buffalo Bills right now, but a really good job as a running back that ended up being, our special teams MVP, but really taking this to heart. He's really trying to reduce the surface area. He's trying to lean and get back on top. He's hand fighting as he goes. Really good job, maximum effort right there, okay? And then you see it showing up in games too. So we'll look at the left guard in this picture. Just his initial, right there it is. There's the release. There's the club and the arm over, then he's downfield in position to make a play on the ball. It was fair caught, but gives you the idea. So you want to see whatever drills you're doing, right? You want to see it show up in games. Here's another one. Okay, again, it's that same quick club and a tight arm over, like a really good job by that left guard and the tight arm over. Okay, now at this point, he's trying to stack and get back on top. He's got to lean really hard, but he eventually does, and he's right there to pick up a fumble, or a muff, rather. Okay. Any questions real quick, guys, from that initial just, top of the hill drill for punt, just the hoop release? Okay. So the next part that we'll get to is now we're downhill. What are we doing at the bottom of the hill? Okay. And so we'll talk to them in terms of, the buzzwords of chuck and throw by. Okay. So if you're looking at this diagram, right? We're looking at the people in red here it's us, it's Elon, okay? And so I'm on the punt team. I'm running down the field. I'm this left guy in the left diagram right here. And I have a hold-up man on my hip, right? He's in that back hip, like what Milo was talking about doing, getting in that hip, being in the hip position. Well, as I get downfield, I need to have my hand so I can feel him, okay? At that point, the returner is going to do one of two things. He's either going to come to me or go away from me. If he comes to my side, okay, I want to maintain the leverage that I have on him. I don't want him to cross my face, okay? So at that point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to chuck him so I can come off and maintain leverage, okay? On the right side here, let's say now the returner goes, there's 3 arrows drawn. Let's say he goes this direction, okay? So the guy on the left here is going to be using chuck. Well, the guy on the right is now going to have to use throw by. It's that second scenario where, okay, the returner has gone away from me. I need to throw this defender by me and get over there. And so what we'll do, we'll talk about grabbing cloth, throwing, and then going arm over on the backside, and that's going to be violent. Okay, so this is, again, the second part of it. And so this drill setup is happening at the same time, right? Here's the third team that we had and then the fourth team that we had set up over here. While on the right side of your screen is that top of the hill hoop release drill going on. Okay. And you can see as we go here, again, we're looking, now we got 48 right here in this picture. And I'll just show you a couple clips is on the punt team, right? And 13's on the punt team. So the guys on the outside are on the punt team in this drill. And you can see the returner's going to his right. So for the man on the left, that's going to be a chuck. And the man on the right, that's going to be a throw by. So you can just see that working right here. Okay, now 48 should not let him cross his face here. He's tagging off on the backside hip, but he should use, what we term a cobra tackle here, which is what our defense calls it, where he already has leverage. He needs to maintain his leverage on the tackle. Okay, but just giving them buzzwords for how to defeat these blocks. Okay, and right here, this is two wide receivers, two of our starting wide receivers in the maroon here. Okay, 7 and 2. Again, a skill they wouldn't practice too many other times. And so it's great to be able to get them just some reps at doing this because they could be gunners, they could be tackles, in a shield punt scheme. And you want to make sure they know how to do all these different skills. Okay. Here's an example of it from our long snapper last year. Our long snapper had 3 solo tackles, which is pretty good for a long snapper. Okay, so you can see him running down the field, and he gets into this position where he's got a defender now to his right, and the returner's going away, to his left. So he will now chuck and come off to make a tackle. Play a little bit slower so you guys can see it, but it's 61 right there on the 40-yard line. He chucks, comes off, he's able to make a tackle. Okay, again, you want to make sure the drills you're doing show up. This is, again, from a previous stop that I had. You're looking at the right guard. I'll fast forward through part of this. He doesn't do a great job on the actual release part, right? He's spending way too much time. The guy's obviously not rushing. Okay, so he's got to rip and get off. He eventually does, but now, right, he feels the defender. He grabs cloth. He throws by, and he's right in position to make the tackle. Okay. Does that make sense, guys? Chuck and throw by. So that's our initial punt. Right, our initial punt teaching in terms of our coverage and our release. Okay. So the next thing now we go, that's day 1. We'll do that. We go to day 2, and all of a sudden we're doing our punt return stuff. And so we'll talk about top of the hill having 2 techniques. The first one is soft shoe. Okay, and that is generally going to be used on the outside with your jammers on your gunners. Okay, when you're not trying to sell any type of rush, you're just giving away, hey, I'm in hold up. So typically it'll be used on the outside, but it could be used on the inside based on matchup. Okay, so we'll teach this to everybody. And all we're doing, we're going to align to a specific leverage. Okay, and we're doing that so we can force the punt team to release the opposite way based on the return. So in this picture right here, again, the maroon player is on our team, on the punt return team, and he's trying to force a release to his left, whether it's a right return or whether it's a middle return. Okay, he's on the left side. And so what we'll do is we'll motor our feet, inch back softly, and we're now in the phase of, do I use a one-hand jam or a two-hand jam? And this is what our DBs talk about. So again, it's more that same as teaching. We're trying to use the same teaching as our other position groups. Okay, so if the punt team guy releases to the leverage I want him to release to, right? If he releases to the left here, now I'm a one-arm jam, and I can try and widen him initially on his release until he gets to my hip, and then I will protect my hip and get out of it. If he tries to cross my face, though, now I can go two-hand jam, and I can try and mirror him on the line of scrimmage for as long as I can. Okay, and you heard Milo talk about his crab technique. It's that same type of idea at that point if you get to a two-hand jam. Okay, and I have a little bit of film on that. Okay, so just a couple of clips here, really looking at this left spot right here. Again, this is a receiver doing it, so it's a skill you got to teach everybody because you're going to want to use receivers and offensive players on your punt return team. But he's doing a good job motoring his feet inching back. Defender releases the way he wants him. It's a one-arm jam. Now, at this point, he's still on top of the coverage player. Once that coverage player starts to get even with his hip, he needs to grab his left arm and rip it out of there. So now he can get downfield. It's the same thing Milo was talking about when you leave that arm on him too long and all of a sudden you can get stacked. You can go from being in phase to out of phase real fast. Okay. So we look at it again right here. This is an outside linebacker for us. Okay. Again, he's played some man-to-man. So he has an idea of this technique to begin with, but he's already, you can see he's aligned, trying to force a release this direction. Okay. And you can see he'll motor his feet. Guy works away. Now I can stab him. One arm jam right on his shoulder there. He's in a good spot. And you see him really do a good job of getting his eyes downfield now. And one of the things we'll talk about, we talk about top of the hill and bottom of the hill. In that in-between phase, guys, where it's the middle of the hill, we aren't trying to overcoach that specific time. Okay, a lot of guys will try and widen a lot of that time or try and pester, hip and rattle, that kind of thing. We want to get our eyes downfield so we know where the returner is, where we are in relation to the returner, and where we are in relation to the return, the way we want to get the return going. Okay, that way we're not having any issues with us getting blocked into the returner or us getting blocked into a muff or not seeing a poison call. Right? All of those things can be avoided by us getting our eyes downfield to the returner. Okay, so that's soft shoe. Shock is now what you're going to use primarily on the inside. Okay, this is where you're coming off the ball, right? You're taking a hard step with your foot right down the midline of the punt team guy. So if I have a man, let's say I'm trying to set up a right return like this picture, I'm going to have my right foot up so I can step with my left foot right down the midline of the defender and try and get two hands on him. Okay, and then from there, we're going to try and work now our mirror technique as long as we can and do the most work on the line of scrimmage that we possibly can. After they get a release on us and they get to our hip, it's the same idea. I want to protect my hip, rip my near arm out, get my eyes downfield, find the returner, and figure out what leverage I have to gain. Okay, so we didn't get a lot of film of this one, so it's kind of hard to see. But right here, he's going to now step with his left foot right at the crotch of the punt team member. And what that does, guys, if the punt team member releases away, well, I'm in great position now. Get on him, mirror him, and widen him for a couple steps. If he tries to release to me, well, now I'm going to be in a balanced stance where I can then get my two hands on him, and I'm in a great position to mirror him down the line for a lot longer. Okay, so this is just, we got in the line and practice doing this. Okay, again, really good job right here. Man gets to his hip, gets his eyes downfield, rips his left arm out. Okay, so that is our top of the hill stuff for punt return, soft shoe and shock. Okay. All right, now, what do I do? I'm running down the field. You told me not to worry about the middle of the hill. What do I do? Okay, well, the first option is frontal. And this, guys, is the finish techniques that we'll get to. That's at the bottom of the hill. Okay, so the first option is frontal. So this is that sit and fit that Milo was talking about. As we're running, again, the guys on the right in both these pictures are the punt return members. Okay, so I'm running downfield. I have now done a great job with the hold up portion. I've gained myself some yards. Right, seconds that you spend on the line of scrimmage is yards gained on the returns. Now I've gained some seconds. I've gained some yards. Well, I'm running downfield. Okay, I see the returner. I'm 15 yards away. I'm 10 yards away. I'm in that space where I have time to make a decisive block. I am going to grab my near hand to the hold up to the punt coverage man and grab the breastplate, and I'm going to slingshot my body around in front. Okay, that's why it's called frontal. I'm trying to get in front. I'm trying to gain that leverage of ball, me, man. That's how we're trying to finish everything on special teams, ball, me, man, when we're in this situation, okay? And so when you have time, we'll use frontal. Here's what it looks like, guys. So looking really at the right here, okay, you see this is the matchup we're looking at. He's got time to make this decision. We're using pop-ups just to give him a reference for where the returner is, okay? But he's doing a great job throwing his right hand in there to the front breastplate and able to slingshot his body around. It's good. If you can't get your near hand to the breastplate, you're probably going to block him in the back, right? So that's a good indicator. Hey, if I can't get my hand there, I probably can't use this technique. Okay, I might have to use flyby, or I might have to use option C, which is turn around, find somebody else. Okay, but if I can get my hand to his breastplate, I can slingshot my body in front, okay, and then I'm in good position to make this block. Now, one of the things that we got to do a better job at now is teaching the retrace. Okay, this defender's not just going to get blocked and stand still, right? We can all agree on that, or at least we hope he doesn't do that. He's going to start, if the returner goes inside, he's going to start retracing back inside. Well, now at that point, I have to really do a great job of ripping my left arm through to maintain that relationship of ball, me, man. Okay, but just a couple clips of this drill. It's a half-speed drill. Again, you see two of our offensive guys getting this done on the right here. One of our starting receivers throwing his right hand in the middle, or to the breastplate rather, slingshot his body around, getting into a good position. Okay, and at that point, we're trying to drive him out away from the return. Okay. Here's an example of it in a game, right? You see number 3 here do a great job with the soft shoe technique, motor in his feet, trying to force release outside. Okay, one arm jam. Okay, now he gets even with me. I'm going to rip my left arm out, get my eyes downfield. Okay, I'm not trying to put my hand on him the whole time. I'm trying to get downfield, get the right leverage. Okay, I'm 10 yards away from returner. I can get my hand in front. It's kind of sliding behind there. I got to do a better job with his right hand. But now I got it in front. I'm using frontal, and that's all it takes is just a second. Okay, we'll watch it again from the end zone. So you're looking at number 3 on the right side of your screen right here. Does a good job of locating. You can see him right here. He gets his eyes right here to the returner, knows where he is, so he can use this frontal technique. Okay, and now he is given, in Milo's words, he's giving the returner a butt to run off. Okay, now the next part of it is I don't have time. I can't get my hand to his breastplate. Well, now what do I do? Well, our next option is flyby. Okay, that's I've heard people talk about setting the high screen or hip hop hooray or whatever different word. This is what that is now. Okay, so what we're doing, we're running down the field. Again, the guys in maroon here are on the return team. The guys in blue are on the coverage team. As you look at this drill, I'm running there, and I'm going to give him that aiming point of I'm trying to take my near hand and push it through the tricep of the coverage man. When I do that, I'm going to turn my body and put my numbers, my back numbers, on his body. Okay. So taking a look at it in the same drill setup, okay, we'll look right here on this side. You got a linebacker doing this right here. He doesn't have time. He's going to do a great job pushing through the tricep, ripping his arms up in the air, and giving his numbers right to the coverage man. Okay. Just a couple looks at it. Again, we did this. This is the first time introducing this. You know, day 2, we're not even in pads yet. This was a 3/4 speed drill. And guys, we do a great job here of tracking if we're going to have a high intensity or low intensity period to be able to decide, how much work each guy's getting. We have the catapult systems that monitor, what everything they do when they're out there at practice, how much they're running, how much the intensity is. And so we'll have different periods where we want to go high intensity versus low intensity. When we get to that competition period, that is oftentimes the fastest they will go all day. And it's short. This competitions last 6 to 8 seconds, but it is the fastest speeds we will pick up all day, which is great. Okay, so you guys get an example of flyby. Okay, this is when I was at UT a number of years ago, but you got a couple examples right here. We'll try and point them out as we go. But this guy right here that's off the ball is a great example of flyby. Okay, so you're looking at number 26. You follow him all the way down the field. He gets beat. He's out of phase right now. Does a great job getting back to his leverage. And right here, he's just getting a piece of him right on the side, throwing his arms up to get you that flyby. Okay. And then now we're off to the races. And guys, this is a huge game. The Texas-Oklahoma game is a big one. And and this was my third year at Texas, and we had lost the first two games by more points than I'd like to admit. But this game was a big one for us, and we came back and won that third year, which was awesome. Okay, the third thing that is just as important is, guys, if we can't make the block, no block is better than a penalty. Okay, turn around, find somebody else, and the returner's got to make somebody miss, one, but two, we got an example right here. This is last season before I got here. I think Elon finished about 83rd or 84th in the country in punt return. But had this return counted and not been called back for a penalty, it'd have been top 5. So just that, one play, one penalty can make such a big difference, throughout the course of a game. This game went into 5 overtimes. So imagine this not being called back. Again, looking at this person right here. Okay, we're getting the penalty right here. But this is a big point, right? We don't have time, right? We obviously can't use frontal. Okay, my hand's on his back, so I can't use flyby. I got to stop. Turn around, and find somebody else. Okay, and this return went all the way back, to about the 6-yard line, but was called back. Okay, again, difference in that ball game, difference in big rankings. The ball was fumbled too. We recovered it, but still, just to point out how important playing penalty free is. Okay, all right. So now we get to the competition part of it, and guys, when we do the competitions, we want to keep track of this throughout all of spring ball, for instance, okay? And so what we'll do is at every rep, there's 2 points up for grabs. And that way it gives you a great indicator at the end of this thing, or 3 days into it or 4 days into it, who's winning consistently and getting points consistently, right? If you're averaging 1.8 points per rep, you're winning a lot, but if you're averaging 1.0 points per rep, you're probably winning as much as you're losing. And if you are averaging 0.2 points per rep, that's not very good. Okay, all we're doing here is we have a 10-yard box. Really, it's a 5-yard box with 2 cones a yard apart up top. Punt team is trying to work those techniques we talked about in the hoop release drill. In punt returns, either going to use soft shoe or shock, okay, to try and force them outside of the box and force them outside of the cone. So for the punt team, he gets 2 points if he gets off clean and finishes between the cones. Okay, if he gets widened outside of the box, he'll lose a point automatically. Okay, if he can't finish inside of those 2 cones, he'll lose another point, and the punt return team will gain them. Okay, so that gives you an idea of how the scorings work. I will say, in doing this for a few years, you have to be super detailed with what the points are worth, because the guys will watch film, they'll want to see what they got, and they will argue for every single point, which is a good thing. Okay, and the other thing that's important, any penalty results in a loss. Okay, that's a big deal, because you'll see some of them that as they go, man, they were going to at least get 1 point, but then they held, right, and then all of a sudden they have no points, and the other team got 2, and so you'll see that making an impact in the final scores. Okay, so just a couple of reps, from the hold-up standpoint right here. So 28 is trying to release, and 27 is on the hold-up team. Again, he does a good job, he being the hold-up guy of a 2-hand jam. And now he gets to this point right here, okay? 28 is about to have a chance to work that speed release and get to his hip. So 27 does a great job protecting his hip, ripping his left arm out, so now he can get into a running position as opposed to a mirror position. Right, so he does that, and then when 28 tries to retrace, he can get back on top really fast. Okay, now he's in great shape. So I'll just play it one more time at full speed so you can see it. Right, but a great job protecting his hip and getting back on top. So that would be 2 points right there for the return team. And you can see, like right here, this is our head coach, right? He's getting fired up about it. That's one of his guys he's coaching on his specific team, right? And so you can see the other guys, cheering him on the sideline too. Okay, just a couple more clips here. This is, again, a good example of initially trying to use the 1-hand jam, then a 2-hand jam. Gets him outside here, but in real life, guys, we get 2 points for the return team because he knocks him all the way out. But in real life now, 11 is going to be on his hip and able to stack him to get back and finish there. So that's where we talk about you have to do a great job of protecting your hip, ripping that arm out, and getting back to a good spot. Okay? And this is an example of a really good example of a two-hand jam. Okay, so 34 tries to work a jab release. And when he does, he's crossing face of 14. So 14 is able to throw both hands in there and two-hand jam him, and now he can mirror him down the line of scrimmage. Okay, and so he does a great job knocking him all the way back and getting him out. 34 is not quitting, but you can understand kind of how those things are showing up. Okay. Now a couple good releases here. Okay, so we see 82 do a great job with the club and rip. And when we talk about club guys, we want to get the elbow. We don't want to club their wrist, because whatever joint you hit, the next one's going to move. So if you hit the wrist, the elbow will move. If you hit the elbow, the shoulder will move. Okay, so if you hit the shoulder, the elbow or above, you can get him to turn his shoulders. So a good job right here working the jab, and then you can see him swiping the left elbow right there, which gets the shoulders turns, and now he can get back on top. Got to do a better job leaning and ripping, but he gets there eventually. Okay, same thing right here. Really good job with the club and the rip. Okay, now that's a penalty right now, and you can see it. The guys know it. You can see him calling on the sideline, so the return team would have lost there anyway. Okay, so here's an example. I'm sorry, this is one more release. One more release. This is one of our starting receivers, so he's pretty natural at doing this. Does a great job reducing the surface area right here. 48 on the hold-up team's got to rip his arm out, and then start getting to the spot for the return to work his finishing move, as opposed to trying to hang on there. Okay, so here's one of the ways we'll talk about penalties, and it shows up here, and it's a great coaching point. So you have 81 on the return team here, okay? So we start – at this point, he's got a man out of the box. So he's already won at least 1 point. Okay, if he stops at this point, he's got 1 point for his team. But he hangs on, okay, and he just pulls right here. You can see him pull the jersey and pull the man down. So at that point, he now loses the point he had, and the other team gets 2 points. And so it's a 3-point swing in essence. So it's a great way to emphasize playing penalty-free, right, in a ball game. Okay. Same thing right here. Again, on the return team, he's in really good shape. Like, he has done a great job. He's got one-hand jam to two-hand jam. He's on top the whole time. And right here, he pulls jersey. He's going to win at least 1 point. But he pulls his jersey, he gets the holding penalty. Okay, he loses that point for his team. And you can see the guys on the sideline. Right, you see number 2 right here. He's into it. Okay, he wants to see his team win. And he knows he's doing great. He's doing great. Oh, he got a penalty. You know what I mean? So it's visible. It's easy to teach off of. It's great. It's great in that sense. All right, this is the next drill. This is probably the one that gets you the best film and the best coaching points. Okay, this is the 2 versus 2 bottom of the hill drill. And all we're doing to talk about the drill setup, we have 2 setups on each side of the field. And this drill will be a 35 to 40-yard drill. We did it and did it with about 30 yards of space to limit the running. And that had some good outcomes. But you get more full-speed looks when it's the full 40 yards that you'd have on a punt in general. Okay, so the punt team is trying to release and tag off on the returner. We'll go on a command on set hit, and when we say set hit, somebody who's a thrower, whether it's myself or another one of our coaches, will throw a ball to the punt returner. We'd like to be able to do this with a jugs machine. If you have one, that's a great way to do it. But if not, just get one of the former quarterbacks on your staff to throw the ball. Okay, don't have one of the former offensive linemen do it. We don't throw as well. But anyway, so the punt team, if they get 2 hands each on the punt return, that's 2 points for them. So in this matchup right here, there's 2 points at stake. In this matchup right here, there's 2 points at stake. So again, you can track those points, throughout all the reps. Okay, and then for the punt returner, the way his points will work is he gets the average of the 2 guys on his team. They're the 2 punt return guys. Now, for the 2 guys on punt return, what they're trying to do is come up with a plan. What kind of return are we going to work? Are we going to work a middle return? Are we going to work a right return or a left return? What are we doing? And then for the punt team, it's the same conversation. Are we going to try and twist release? Are we going to line up with a lot of space between us to give us one-on-one matchups? What are we trying to do in our coverage? Okay, so that gives you an idea of how it kind of set up. Okay, so again, in this picture, 54 and 37 are on the punt team. Okay, and the other 2 guys are on the return team. So they work a twist. Okay, it's great. Now we got to work getting off of that. But now we're in pretty good shape right here. Okay, as a punt return team, we have 4 and 34 on the punt return team. They're trying to set up a middle return. Okay, now 4 might have enough time to throw his left hand in front, slingshot his body, and use frontal. He doesn't think he does, so he ends up using flyby right here. And 34 uses flyby as well. But you can just see how it shows up now. And there's the return set up. It's a fun moment when, like, the drill shows up in a full speed rep. Okay, so they both end up using flyby right here. Now, from the coverage standpoint to teach off of, 37 on the right side here has got to do a better job of what? He's got to get that left hand to feel the guy trying to hold him up. And then he would use that throw-by technique right here. Okay, 54, it's really the same thing. He has that hand there, and he tries to use throw-by. He's just a little bit late doing it. Okay, so you see them trying to use the skills, and that's the beauty of this, full speed rep. When else is 54 going to get a full speed rep of using throw by, right? I don't want the first time to be in a game against, an ACC opponent to figure out the speed of the game, right? I want them to understand how fast that's going to happen for them. And so this is a great way to do it. Okay, and just you got probably 10 reps on here, just different looks of it. Okay, again, you look at on the right side here, on the hold up, great job initially, right? He's doing a good job getting hands on and widening them. But now at this point, he's got to protect his hip, throw his left arm out, and get gone. Okay? So now he's all of a sudden gone from in phase to out of phase. He's in trouble. Now they have a left return set up, and both these guys do a great job, right? Just understanding where the return's going, understanding space and time. And now I'm going to use that flyby technique just to shield him off. Okay. All right. A couple more looks. Again, 28 and 11 are on the punt team. Good job at 11 right here. Does a good job on the release. Does a really good job trying to really work hard to stack. Okay, he's got him stacked. He's in the perfect position. Now he's got to just attack that near hip of the returner. Okay, he's right there to make a good tackle. I'll play at full speed for you again. Okay. It's a great rep by that kid. Again, really good job by both the guys on the punt team in terms of trying to stack, leaning really hard to get back on top. Now they've got their man stacked, and they're in great position to make a tackle. A couple more here. This is the last drill I got to show you guys right now. Okay, so you got 2 and 82. This drill is exactly like a one we saw before with the chuck and throw by. You have the returner trying to figure out which way to go. He eventually goes to his right. So 82 right here will end up using a chuck, and 2 will use a throw by. Okay, so you'll see these things show up time and time again. That way they can maintain leverage. They don't get out leveraged. They're in good shape. And again, you can see the punt return guys, we got to do a better job of fighting the retrace, fighting the back door. Again, great job. Both these guys right here using using throw by on the punt team. And the guys on the return team, they got plenty of space here. They have time to use frontal. So again, it's putting them in these situations, right, where they can figure out how much time and space they have to do different things, right? A chance to get full speed reps, before you get to an actual game. Okay. The other thing this is really good for, you have a couple guys that are your return guys, but you have different people all the time that are going to be carrying the football. So, we have one of our outside linebackers out here as the returner for this drill because of the people he had on his team. And what it does, guys, like he might get an interception at some point and be running down the field with the ball. Well, he can't have the ball swinging like that right there, okay? And you can see now the ball comes out. It's a great coaching point, okay? It's a great thing to be able to teach off of. So there's different skills, right, that you're using in every aspect of football, okay? And I'll just put one more on here that's got a penalty because, again, we're trying to emphasize playing penalty-free. So as we watch this, okay, you got 43 who's in a chase position right now. He's not in a good spot. he's bad. He's in trouble the whole time, right? This guy right here, he's way behind. He's out of phase. At this point, he might still think I might have time to use flyby. But as he gets here, he thinks, okay, I need to turn around, use option C, find somebody else. He doesn't. He throws his shoulder right into the back, and that ends up being a block, pretty clear block in the back that would get a penalty. Okay, so again, in this particular day, that ended up costing them 4 points that the other team got. So it's an 8-point swing, and they end up losing this matchup by 7 points. So this one rep, made a huge difference in the outcome. Okay. Now, in the scoring, we'll post this every day. Okay, so we'll have all the different names of the players. I took their names off, just, keep it private. But we'll have all the different players' names, how many reps they got in that drill, and how many points they earned. Okay, along with the coaches that are responsible for each team. And then on top of that, we'll post the standings each day so they can see who's winning. And then also the individual point leaders, and it's sorted by points per rep. Okay, so you can see, this guy that was player 1 only had 2 reps, but he won both of them. Whereas player 2 right here had 9 reps at this point in spring, and he was winning, 1.8 points per rep. He was doing a great job. So we'll post all of it, player 1 through player 50, all their rankings so they can see each other and kind of motivate each other that way. Okay, guys, that's what I got. I got my contact info here for you. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to share film, to answer questions, to talk, to hop on a Zoom at some other point too. So just, here, my cell phone's probably the easiest way to get in touch with me. Just, shoot me a text at any point. But I appreciate the time. If you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.